Chasky, what month does Purim happen in?
Adar.
Adar. And that's what our Pesukim talk about. How on the 13th day of the month of Adar, the Jews were able to organize and to fight their enemies, and the day afterwards, they started to celebrate Purim. So what's interesting, though, is most of the Tanakh, months are referred to not by name, but by number. The first month, the second month, and so forth. Do you know what the first month is?
Nisan.
Nisan. What holiday is in Nisan?
Pesach.
Right, so normally the Torah says we're supposed to count from Nisan, right? Because Pesach is the first holiday that happens in Bnei Yisrael when they left Mitzrayim. And the Torah says that this month will always be the first month for you. What's interesting, though, is that today we almost never use number months to refer to the months. Instead, we use name months, names for months. So the Ramban points out in his commentary on Sefer Shmos that the purpose of counting months to Yetzias Mitzrayim, in other words, using Nisan as the first month, is in order to have a constant reminder of the miracles of the Exodus. However, he notes that in Megillas Esther and the other books which are associated with Galus Bavel, with the exile in Babylonia and the return from Babylonia, you have to sit straight. That in those books that they use the names, and he points out the names really themselves are not Hebrew names; they're Persian, Babylonian kinds of names. So the Ramban, and really this is amplified as well by the Sefer HaIkrim, suggests that the reason for this is just as we try to use the calendar to remind us of the miracles of the Exodus, so too that really the mitzvah is always to use the calendar as a vehicle to remind us of God's miracles. So it may be that the fact that in Megillas Esther specifically there's an emphasis on using the Persian names is to remind us that we are supposed to remember these miracles of the return from the Babylonian exile on a regular basis. And so therefore, by using what is essentially a Babylonian calendar and names that were Babylonian origin, the Ramban explains that really we are accomplishing the same thing as dating the months from the Exodus, right? That we have a constant mitzvah to use the calendar as a way of reminding of God's interactions with the Jewish people. And certainly that is one of the messages of Megillas Esther, to remind us that God is continuing to be active in working miracles for the Jewish people throughout history.